Hi, good evening, all of you. Hi, good evening, all of you. Hope you are able to view me. Hope you are able to see the whole screen. Can you please confirm? Good evening, all of you. Am I audible to all of you? If yes, please confirm in the chat box so that I will come to know that whether I am audible, and also you are able to view the screen, and also you can see all the things is very clear and all. Please confirm so that I can start our today's discussion on change control with the special focus on a pragmatic approach and a compliance view. Hi, good evening, all of you. Am I audible to all of you? Okay, Narella, confirm me that yes. Thank you, Mr. Narella. Thank you so much. So I think I am audible to all of you now because Narella confirm me now. So let us discuss about our today's topic, which is a change control. See, the point is, the change control we are following since long, so many years. The change control is a part of the quality management system, and many companies are following this change control. Okay, okay. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Somebody is from Happy India channel. Somebody from Sham Zuzula Chaudhary. Thank you so much. Okay, I got the communication. Thank you so much. So, what I was telling is a change control quality. It's a part of the quality management system, and it is being used since long. So now why it is required to discuss today? The reason is many people are not following what is expected through the change control. That is a very important first thing I want to tell you here. The second point is what are the the prospects, what are the thoughts with respect to the current requirements, with respect to the computerized system, with respect to artificial intelligence, with respect to the categorization of the change control. That's so many points we need to clear during our today's discussion. So always remember that whatever I am providing the training, it is based on the guidelines. Okay, guideline requirement. It is not something vague I am putting somewhere else and I am putting it. I am taking all the information through the literatures, some articles, guidelines. Preferably, I focus on the guideline expectations. So that I want to share with you. That please focus with during our today's training session. Okay. Second point is when we are discussing about the change control, there are many points we are going to discuss. So let us start our today's training session, and what we are going to discuss, that is displayed on the screen. It will take some couple of minutes. There is a delay. So because what happened, when I am changing the slide, it will take some 10 to 15 seconds to display on your screen. So that delay will be there. So what is the agenda for today's training session? So brief introduction about the concept, about the change control, that already we are discussing, followed by the know your trainer. Why I am putting this short CV in my training session? The reason is many companies consider this recording. This recording will be available in the YouTube with the, you can access the recording through the same link. Okay, same link. Now you are connected through me, connected through YouTube, and connected to me for a live training session, and same link can be used for the recorded version of a webinar. So what happened, many companies are using this recorded session as the external training for their employees. So that is the reason I am putting my CV, so that they can record this training session for and present to the inspectors or auditors that this is the external training they undergone. Okay, so for that purpose I am putting my CV also in that. After that, we will discuss about the need for change control. Why change controls are required? What is the purpose of the change control? That we will discuss. Then we will have some slides about the what is exact expectation of the different guidelines like EU, FDA. When I am discussing about FDA, it is a US FDA, ICH, PICS, ISO, etc. After that, we will discuss about the PDCA cycle in relation to the change control. Now you will ask me that which guideline is there that it recommends to use the PDCA cycle. So my dear friend, it is explained in the ISO guideline, and also it is explained in the WHO guideline for change management. So that is the reason I put this from a with respect to the WHO guideline reference to the PDCA cycle. Then we need to discuss about the life cycle approach for a change control. So what is the life cycle approach for the change control, that we are going to discuss. Then there are types of change controls. You are already aware that temporary change and permanent change, there are two top types of the change control. However, further the categorization is there, like the major, moderate, minor and all. Okay, so that we are going to discuss about the types of change control. Then after that we will discuss about the artificial intelligence. So now many people are discussing about artificial intelligence and how you can use that artificial intelligence for with respect to the proper evaluation of a change control. So that point also we will be touching upon on today's discussion. We will discuss further about the cGXP computerized systems and how it is dealing with the change controls. So in change control, how we can put a scope about the cGXP computerized system, that also we are going to discuss. Followed by what is normally missing in the change control, because I will share my CV in the next couple of slides. So I have audited more than 500 sites till date. So it is based on my experience that wherever I observed that what is lacking in the change control, so that points I have summarized that what is missing in the change control. Also, in addition to that, I collected some couple of warning letters issued by the FDA to different pharma companies. That also we'll discuss, and we can learn from that FDA citations, and followed by the question answer sessions. So this is the brief about our today's training agenda. If you have any question, please go on putting in the chat box. After completion of the training session, we will discuss about the question and answer. I will read all the questions from you and then along with your name, and then I will answer your questions. One point is, please remember that whatever I am giving the training, after training, put more focus or put more interest in understanding the answers from the questions raised by the different team members, because you will learn more from the answers for the questions asked by your team member. That is, please remember this point. So don't consider that if training is over, then we understand complete thing. Basically, we learn from the somebody's questions. That is what the point I want to touch upon here. And let us move ahead. The next slides as per the agenda, my CV. So my name is Jitendra Kumar Shaha. I am a cGMP compliance consultant, trainer and auditor from NADH plus GXP compliance services, and I am having more than 23 years of experience in pharma, and so many things are mentioned here. I am providing the support to many companies for third party audit, due diligence audit, mock audit. Even when I am conducting the mock audit, I tell to my the clients that if I could not identify the critical observations, then I will not take the fees. That is what I am putting my focus with respect to the critical observations. The reason is, whatever the inspections are there, we should, that observations should be free from the criticals. The inspection output should be free from the criticals. That is what would be our interest. So that way, I am conducting the mock audits, and even the due diligence audit I am conducting, where I am evaluating all the sites. Third party audits, exactly, my report exactly in line with the UGMP Annex 2, Chapter 2, requirement for API, exactly in line with that. So it is accepted by QP and many regulatory customers and all. So this is what just a brief about me. The next slide is about my experience. Independently, I was a QA QC head, and I faced a lot of USFDA and other UGMP audits, and so many things are specified in the slide. If anybody is interested, you can pause the video and you can go through this. So here I want to just emphasize here that I have trained more than maybe 5,000 or 10,000 participants till date, and audited more than 500 sites till date, because I am in auditing role since 13 years. Last 13 years I am in auditing role, and every month I am conducting 5 to 6 audits. So you can consider the number will be more than 5,500. So that is what I just want to share a thought. My major work experience, I started my career with a Sun Pharma, then I work in a Blue Cross Laboratories, I work in a Alembic Pharma, Then I work in US vitamins. I was a quality head with a Zydus Cadila. Then I work in some multinational companies also, which includes AstraZeneca, Sanofi, Mylan, and since last 5.5 years, I am an independent compliance consultant, cGMP trainer, and auditor from NADH plus GXP compliance services. So this is a brief about me. I don't want to put more time here. This is a disclaimer I am putting here because I just want to make you aware, or all people aware, that uh, whatever I am providing the training, it is based on the guideline and some literature survey and some information I received from the web, so that you will understand the concept very clearly. And the recording is recorded in the YouTube, and it will be for long period. So my point is, I am putting this disclaimer because whenever you are referring this video and you are referring for a implementation purpose, please refer the current guidelines, because as you are also knowing that the guidelines are continuously changing and all. So you need to always refer the current version of the guideline. So that is the reason I put this disclaimer. And now let us start our today's discussion and actual discussion. And the first point of the actual discussion is why we need change control, why we need to follow the change control procedure. So that is what we are now starting our today's discussion from the change control. Again, I am telling you, there will be a delay of 5 to 10 seconds. So when I am changing the slide, after 5 to 10 seconds, slides will be visible to you. Second point I want to share that if you wish, I can share you the copy of the presentation. So, but my point is, presentation is only the limited content. Along with the presentation, I am discussing lot of. I'm going to discuss lot of points, and same thing is for the other training sessions also. So, if you wish, I can share the presentation copy. You can just put in the chat box. I will share the link so that you can download the copy of the presentation from that link. Okay, but the link will expire in a very short period, maybe 2-3 days, I don't know, but a couple of days it will be expired. So if you are interested in the training presentation, you just put a question, you just put the request in the chat box. I will share the link to download the training presentation. So what is the need for the change control? So the basically change control is required to assure that changes do not impact product identity, strength, quality, purity, potency. So that is the reason we need to follow the change control. Further, it should not impact on the validated status of the process or system. Further, it should not impact on the regulatory commitments like NDA, ANDAs, etc. The second point is, we need to implement, or we need to follow the change control because it is the cGMP requirement and we need to comply the cGMP requirement. That is the reason we need to follow the change control. You will ask me that why is cGMP required? This is general. No. If you go to the pharmaceutical quality management system, PQS or ICH Q10, in that a special content of change control expectations are specified. So that is the reason we need to put the cGMP requirement compliance. Okay. Third point is to provide a single easy access to the source of the information regarding changes. So what happens is, as we follow the change control practices or system, we will have a all changes can be collected together, which will be helpful for audits or inspections, or even the annual product quality reviews, or annual reports to the FDA. Because to the FDA, whatever the minor changes are there, the annual updates are there, that we need to share annually. So for that purpose, we need to have the change control procedure or change control practices. Okay, so this is what I just want to share with the expectation of a change control. Now the next is with respect to the regulatory requirements. What are the regulatory requirements, expectations from the different guidelines? So I have specified here. One point I want to touch upon here is when I am discussing about the Utralex volume 4 or UGMP guide part 2, that part 2 is for the basic requirement for active pharmaceutical ingredients as the starting materials. So whenever I am discussing about the UGMP part 2 basic requirement for APIs, I want to share one point is the same guideline is in line with the ICH Q7. So whatever the requirements are specified in a UGMP guideline, for part 2. Exactly the same requirements are at this moment are available in the ICH-Q7. So this is for the API. So what is the expectation under point number 13 is a change control. So that is what I will just go through that. I understand that it is a theory part. Somewhat couple of slides are there about the guideline expectation. It is a theory part, but we normally miss that theory, and what we miss, that I want to focus there. Okay, so please be with me. A formal change control system should be established to evaluate all changes that may affect the production and control of the intermediate or API. Please remember this. A formal change control system should be established to evaluate all changes. Please understand this word, all changes, because many people don't focus on this. That is the reason I am here to discuss about the expectation and clarify the expectations. Now, what is meant by all changes that may affect the production and control of the intermediate or API? What does it mean? It means that if there is a change in the key management, like change in the quality head or change in the operations head, that change also should be covered through the change control practices or change control system. So if there are the key positions are changed which are related to the production and control of intermediates or API, that changes also should be handled through the change management system or change control procedure. So if your key positions are changed, that should be managed through this requirement, through the change control as per this requirement. Hope you are getting my point. I request all of you, don't go on writing this content whatever is displayed on the screen, okay? Because somebody has requested that they need a PDF file and all. So I will share a link after completion of this training, okay? In the same chat box. Written procedure should provide for the identification, documentation, appropriate review and approval of the changes in raw material specifications, analytical method, facility, support system, equipment, including computer hardware. This is the requirement, GMP requirement. I'm just reading this. Please understand this. Processing steps, labeling and packaging materials and computer software. That means what? Any changes with respect to, you are already following this facility, equipment, document, specifications. I know that you are already following this, but my focus here, that changes, any changes related to the computer software and hardware should be part of your SOP. I have seen many companies that there will be changes in the computer softwares. They change the operating systems of the Windows, or they in the cGXP computerized system, or sometimes they change even the hardware also. CPU is changed, but change control is not raised. So this is very clear cut requirement, exactly taken from the guideline. So if you are not following, please write it down and discuss with your head to implement it. Hope you got my point, okay? The slides are very clear and my words are also very clear. So if you are not complying the requirements, please write it down and discuss. And if you have any questions, again, after completion of training, if you have any doubt, you can again go through the same requirement by following the same link, okay? Further, the requirements are, any proposals for GMP relevant changes should be drafted, reviewed and approved by the appropriate organization unit and reviewed and approved by the quality unit. So final review and approve should be by the quality unit. That is okay. We are complying that. Many companies are following this. When implementing approved changes, measures should be taken to ensure that all documents affected by the changes are revised. This is very, very important. Impact assessment. Many companies lack in following the impact assessment requirement and they get the observation by different regulatory agency. So this is the expectation by the Utralex volume 4 part 2 for API, and same is available, requirement is applicable for ICH Q7. Hope all are with me and very clear about the requirements, okay? The next requirement is the potential impact of the proposed changes on quality of intermediate or API should be evaluated. Okay, perfect. We need to evaluate the potential impact on whatever the intermediates or API are being manufactured. A classification procedure may help in determining the level of testing, validation, and documentation needed to justify changes to a validated process. Changes can be classified as minor or major depending on the nature and extent of a changes and effects. These changes may impact on the process. Scientific judgment should determine what additional testing and validation studies are appropriate to justify a change in a validated process. So this is a requirement. Many companies are already following this, that we need to follow the impact assessment. You need to categorize the change with respect to the activities involved, maybe minor or major, and based on that you can perform the again validation, or you need to have some scientific judgment. You need to have some additional testing if you feel you can have additional testing and all. It is a recommended in this requirement. Hope I am not so fast. If you feel that I am fast, you can reduce the speed. In the YouTube there is the option, you can reduce the speed from normal to 0.75 and you can learn slowly. Okay. The next is after the change had been implemented, there should be an evaluation of the first batches produced or tested under the change. This is very, very important. Many companies lack to comply this requirement. So whatever the changes happen with respect to the specification, manufacturing procedure, may not call for the validation. A minor change may not impact on the validation, but if there are the changes and these changes are implemented, the batches produced or tested, means what? Any changes related to, suppose, testing method. So in that case, the next batches whatever tested need to be evaluated. If there is a change with respect to the manufacturing process, then the first batches whatever manufactured, that need to be evaluated and checked whether they are in line with the requirements or not. Current dosage form manufacturers should be notified of changes from established production and procedures that can impact the quality of the API. So whatever your customers are there who are purchasing the API from you and they manufacture the finished drug dosage form, they should be notified about the changes, that what changes you are doing in this manufacturing or testing of the API, so that they can also evaluate the impact at their end. These are the expectations from Hydraulics Volume 4 Part 2. Hope all are with me. Any question? Again, I am requesting, if any questions are there, you put in the chat box. I will reply to your questions. Okay. The next is with respect to the now chapter 1, Hydraulics Volume 4, chapter 1. So chapter 1 is for pharmaceutical quality system. It is applicable for the companies who are engaged in the manufacturing of the finished drug product or dosage units. For them this is applicable. So what is the expectation for the finished drug product manufacturers? The expectation are arrangements are in place for prospective evaluation of a plan changes and their approval prior to implementation, taking into account regulatory notification and approval where required. So whenever you are planning to implement any changes, you have to evaluate first whether it calls for the regulatory notification or regulatory approval. Means whether it is required to just notify and inform to regulatory agency, or the change requires to first get approval from the regulatory agency, and then only once you got the approval, then only you can implement it. So that need to be evaluated in detail. That is the expectation under this guideline requirement. After implementation of any change, an evaluation is undertaken to confirm that quality objectives were achieved. So whenever you are implementing the change, you need to put a focus that the quality objectives are achieved and that there was no unintended deleterious impact on the product quality. So whatever you are putting the changes, it should not have adverse impact or deleterious impact on the product quality. So that is a point many companies miss to put in their change control procedure. So in the change control form, you need to have the effectiveness of the change, that you need to evaluate whether the change is effective, whether it is not impacting on the product, process, quality or not. That need to be evaluated. Many companies lack this requirement, so I am again and again discussing the same thing. Again, I am requesting you, if you have any questions, please put your questions in the chat box. I will reply your queries. Okay. So now, what is expectation of a US FDA? So under 211.100, the US FDA clause, there shall be written procedures for production and process control designed to assure that the drug products have identity, strength, quality, purity they purport or are presented to possess. Such a procedure shall include all requirements in this subpart. These written procedures, including any changes, remember this word, any changes, shall be drafted, reviewed and approved by the appropriate organization unit and reviewed and approved by the quality control unit. So that is what the expectation of a US FDA. The next requirement is specified in the PICS. So I just put this requirement here, PICS, PICS guideline. Change control is an important element in any quality assurance system. That is what the PICS believes, that it is very important elements in any quality assurance system. Of course, everybody is aware about this. Written procedure should be in place to describe the actions to be taken if change is proposed to a product component or process or equipment or environment, like site change or whatever, or method of a production or testing or any other change that may affect product quality or support system operation. This is the expectation of a PIC. So that means what? Any change whatever with respect to product, process, equipment, site, whatever which can affect the product quality or support system operation, can you need to implement the change control procedure. So here you can see here the support system support system operation. So here also I am recommending that wherever there are the key changes are there in your organization, key changes with respect to the positions, then you need to follow the change control practice. This is what the point I want to share here with this requirement. ICH, now this is ICH requirement, ICH Q10, because earlier slides whatever we discussed about ICH Q7 for API, now I am discussing about the requirement of ICH Q10. In order to evaluate, approve and implement changes properly, a company should have an effective change management system. That is the 3-line requirement, clear-cut requirement, and as it is a harmonized guideline, ICH guideline, we need to follow this guideline. Very clear 3-line statements. Okay. The change management system ensures continual improvement is undertaken. These words you need to focus. So when we are discussing about the change management, so whenever we are discussing about the change control trends or list of the change control, it should indicate that the continuous focus of the organization is with respect to the continuous improvement. So suppose there are 50 or 100 change controls are there, at least we will come to know that the change controls are with respect to some improvements. Okay, that is what we should able to see. There should not be only the time beings, or there should not be only the change controls which need to be run normal operations. So these changes, it indicates that the companies or the manufacturing operations are not focused on continuous improvement. Now you will ask me why it is required to have a focus on continuous improvement, because this is the expectations of ICH Q10 guideline about the continuous improvement. You can go through this guideline. Second point is, now again there is a new requirement by FDA about the quality 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 mapping, one new guideline came. So that also you can go through this and you can have this information. Okay, so I will just remember that word, what is that point, but I'm just sharing a thought. So this is what I want to put your focus here. So quality management maturity, yeah. So FDA is focusing on quality management maturity. So that is the expectation. Draft guide is available. So for that purpose, it is very important. So that is what I am focusing here again and again about the continual improvement. Okay. And point is what? Improvement taken in a timely and effective manner. So if you are putting the time, you have to respect that time. Many companies have the practice that you put the timeline for closing, maybe 1 month or 15 days, whatever you put the timeline. And then if you cannot complete the activity, then you extend the timeline. I agree that there is no any problem. But my question is, if you have suppose 100 change controls, I'm giving example, and all the change controls having the extension form to extend the date, it indicates that the activities or the actions are not timely addressed or not timely taken. Out of 100, if there are some couple of examples where you need to have extension form to extend the timeline, it is okay, that can be justified. But if all the change controls are having the extension and not respecting the timeline, then it indicates that you are not giving proper focus with respect to the quality systems. Now many companies are focusing on quality cultures and quality compliance and all, right? Quality culture, many companies are discussing on this. So this way it indicates about the negative point with respect to the quality culture. So I am just making you aware about this. And effective manner, so changes should be in an effective manner. It should provide a high degree of assurance that there are no unintended consequences of the change. So whenever we are implementing any change, it should provide the high degree of assurance that yes, it will be when we implement it, it will not have much it will not have the negative impact on the product quality. So that is the expectation behind this. Hope everyone is with me. Again and again I am discussing. If you have any question, you can put in the chat box. Yeah, so you are putting the questions in the chat box, very good. So PDCA cycle change control, so you know why it is required. At the initial start also I was discussing the same thing. The PDCA cycle, basically the specified requirement in the WHO guidelines. So I put that requirement from there. So I'm just going through this requirement. The PDCA cycle, you are aware about PDCA: plan, do, check and act. But I found that many companies change control procedure lacks this requirement. So I am just raising this point. You can just think of that, how you can cope up this requirement in your change control. See, you are complying the requirement, but whether you need to put this terminology in your SOP, that you need to evaluate because many companies have the ISO approval also. So you know, ISO 9001 standard 5 provides a brief description about the PDCA. So that is the way. So plan means what? Establish the objective of the system and its processes, obtain the resources needed to deliver results in line with the customer's requirement. And NRA means you know, the national regulatory authorities policies, and identify and address risk and opportunities. Do means implement what is planned that you need to implement. Check means monitor and where applicable measure processes and resulting product and services against policies, objective requirement and plan activities and report the results. This is what the point many companies are missing. That is what I was discussing. When we are making any change, no, that checkpoint is missing. So whether we are getting the required results. Sometimes what happens, suppose we revise the practice of the manufacturing procedure, we put one additional wash of the material. If during API manufacturing we may implement one additional wash of the material with the help of some organic solvent to reduce the impurity. So suppose this type of changes are recommended. So we need to monitor the next batches that really the impurities are getting controlled by putting this change. So that way we need to put some checks during the change control procedure. So that is the reason this PDCA cycle is recommended as a part of the change control. And the last point is the act about the PDCA cycle. What is the last point is act. So take the actions to implement the performance as necessary. So when you come to know that yes, there are point that yes, you can improve the things, but whether can you improve further, so that you can evaluate and you can further take the actions. So this is the PDCA cycle as a part of the change control. And as it is expectation, so I shared this requirement to all of you. And the same thing, you know, is displayed in one slide. Again, I'm telling there will be some couple of delay will be there, minutes will be there, or 10-15 seconds will be delay. So you can see here planning. So in PDCA cycle, you know, planning, support operations, performance, and improvement. So this is basically the expectation of a PDCA cycle. And if you see here, the main point is you can see that QMS scope should be is in the center, because it should be part of your QMS. That is what I was telling you, that it should be part of our change control procedure. Second is leadership and management, because without management support, without a leadership support, it is not practically possible. So leadership support is important for any changes and implement it properly. And third is document and data management. So whatever the changes are there, how this should be documented and how the data will be managed, that should be clearly understood in the procedure. So that is the reason these 3 points are put in the center of this the PDCA cycle. Hope you got my point. So if you are still not able, sometimes what happens, you may not able to hear properly or get the voice sometimes, you know, due to the network problem and all. Don't worry, you can immediately go you can go through again you can go back and you can again learn the same thing. Don't worry about that. Okay. So the next is about the normal process, you know, the normal process of a change control management. So as I told at the start of the training, that many companies are following the change control practices since so many years it is being followed. So I just presented, I got very good picture about the change control management. So I presented this picture. From the picture, it is very clear, you know, what are the steps. Major 6 steps are there. First is initiate the change request. Second, impact assessment. Approve or reject the change proposal. Then implement the change. If it is approved, then go for implementation of the change. Review effectiveness and communicate. This fifth point is missing in many change controls. So please focus here. And the 6th is closing the change request. So this is the normal flow. Now here one point is initiation of the change request. So what exactly being changed, that you need to specify. That is very important. For example, if there is a change in the key position, that you need to specify in the change control, so that you can have the impact assessment with respect to the change in the job description, change in the organogram or revision in the organogram, then updation in the site master file, quality manuals, you know, then you need to have that all the changes. So what exact change, that you need to understand in a proper way. If you are making any change, so it is a good practice that when the change control you are writing, there should be a separate provision for what is the current practice and what is the proposed. So that way you can write in a proper way. Some companies, what happened, they just write they just write that refer attached, and they attach the attachment. No problem, you can attach the attachment with the GMP form of a change control if it is a manual form. But I suggest at least you write something there. The change is related to SOP number so and so, or equipment number so and so, for updation or improvement in this matter. For details, refer annexure. Then you can write, so that the annexures should not get exchanged from between the 2 different change control documents. So that way you can take care of this. Okay. Second is impact assessment. I saw so many examples, FDA citations on the change control procedure, and I want to share the point, and that point is, you know, very less observations, even maybe nil observations are with respect to the change control SOP or change control, the change control documentation like format and all. Very less observations are there. Maximum observations are related to the impact assessment. That impact is not studied properly. Its impact on the next product, impact on the quality of the product is not evaluated in detail. So that type of observations are many more, so please understand this point. The impact assessment plays very important role when you are taking care of the change control. This is a simple process flow, so I presented here to discuss about this. And normally normal things whatever are discussed, normal things are there about change control, initiation and all. I will not much discuss. Where you need to put focus, that I am focusing here. Okay, then there are some specific requirements of change management. So what are the expectations? The first important is a quality risk management. The first requirement, very important when we are implementing the change management procedure or change control procedure, is a quality risk management. Quality risk management should be utilized to evaluate the proposed changes. The level of effort, how much efforts you need to put, and formality of the evaluation should commensurate with the level of risk. And how you come to know? You by following the risk assessment. So how you need to perform the risk assessment? So already my 2 videos are there, quality risk management. You can go through that. And also in the center, I have mentioned about the quality risk management, a practical approach training I am conducting. It's a paid training on 30th of October 2023. So if you are interested, you can pay a very small fees and you can register this. If not, these 2 free trainings are already recorded in the YouTube. I have given the link in the description section. You can go through this. So overall, what I want to tell you is, when we are discussing about the change control or change management, quality risk management should be followed. That is the very important thing. If in the change control you are not following the quality risk management, then you are not complying the requirement. Very clear. Many companies, what they do, they just they just put the one paragraph, quality risk assessment, and they just put a small paragraph. It is not expected. You need to evaluate the what is exact risk, how and what are the occurrence with respect to the risk. That all you need to evaluate with respect to the proposed potential risk with respect to the change management, because you are going to implement the change. So when you are going to implement the change, it is important to have a proactive evaluation or predictive evaluation, that there should not go wrong, there should not any problem happen in future due to this change. So this is what the expectation from this requirement. The next is with respect to the development. So this is a requirement with respect to the ICH-Q8 R2. If you want to learn this also, I will share you the link. You can go through this recorded webinar. So proposed changes should be evaluated relative to the marketing authorization, including design space. Of course, when you establish or your R&D establish the design space, so that you then you need to comply that design space. Okay, there should be an assessment to determine whether a change to the regulatory filing is required under regional requirements or not. So basically what happened, as per this ICH Q8 R2, I will just touch upon this design space requirement. You need to, if you want to learn more about design space, you can go through this video. Okay, there is a separate recorded webinar in this YouTube. So my point here is, if design space is given by your R&D is this much, and you are running the operations within this much, like for example, the hardness limit for tablet, let us take an example, is given as 50 to 100 kgs. Okay, 50 to 100 kg, let us say example, and then 50 to 100 is the design space. But in your BMR manufacturing BMR, you will have the limit of only 60 to 80 kgs. So you are running only within the 60 to 80. So design space, and you are having a operating range, small range. So if you cross that 60 to 80, whatever you're operating in the BMR, and if you cross and go, but it is within the design space, then regulatory communication is not required. So it is not required to communicate the regulatory agency. This is what the point here. But If you cross these, it will call at least your internal quality system or change management system. That is what specified under this expectation. So I put this expectation. So okay, no problem. You need not communicate to regulatory agency. But when you are working within the design space, is not considered a change from regulatory filing. Correct. I agree with you. But from pharmaceutical quality system point of view, if there is any change which is out of your operation but within the design space, you need to follow your change management system. So the point here is, whatever is your documented evidence, documentary requirement, if you are not complying, you are doing some changes, then you need to follow your change management system. Okay, you will not it is not required to inform to the regulatory agency or regulatory filing, because the change is within the design space requirement, design space. But still, as you need to respect your approved documents, you need to follow the company's change management system. And that is the reason many companies follow the temporary change control procedures. Hope you got my point. So this is what I want to share this about this requirement. And the next requirement is with respect to, whenever the proposed changes are evaluated, it should be evaluated by the expert team. This is what many companies are lacking this, appropriate expertise and knowledge from the relevant area. So who is the expert team? They are the expert and who have the knowledge from the relevant areas. For example, I have given and highlighted the area about the regulatory affairs. Why? Because what happened, I have seen that many SOPs related changes or many change controls, are evaluated by quality assurance, and they only take a decision whether the change will be evaluated by regulatory or not. They only evaluate. But my dear friends, here one point I want to tell you here, one point. That point is, you don't, the quality person, if have the previous experience in regulatory or expertise in the regulatory affairs, then it is okay. Then the person is evaluating, then it is okay. But if the person is not having expertise with respect to the regulatory affairs or filings in the regulatory, then the changes, all the changes should be rotated through the regulatory affairs. Let them write no impact, let them write. But the point is, all the changes need to be tackled or handled through the regulatory affairs, unless and until the quality assurance who is taking the decision about whether the change control should be shared with the regulatory affairs or not, that person should be competent, should have appropriate expertise and knowledge about the regulatory affairs. That is what my point is. Many people, raise the question that why we need to share all the SOP related change controls to regulatory affairs. I will give simple example. SOP related change controls, maybe small, like SOP of SOP and all. Okay, I believe on you, but there are some SOPs which may directly impact on the regulatory affairs also, like stability study. How you will do them? Stability study or whole time study, validation, process validation, this type of document, or annual product quality review, this type of the SOPs are linked with the regulatory requirements, regulatory affairs department. So somebody need to be very much expert or knowledgeable from your quality assurance, who can take the decision whether this is required, this change control requires the regulatory affairs evaluation or not. And if that is not, you don't have that expertise or knowledge, then I suggest that all change controls should be rotated to the regulatory affairs, so that there will not be any risk. If you miss any change control which need to be evaluated by the regulatory affairs, you miss any change control, then it will be the very serious. I am telling you the fact. Okay, because you may not aware that what are the commitments are given by the regulatory agencies. Sometimes you may change the in process specification limit. You feel that it is the in process only, final specification, final product quality I am maintaining, so what is its impact? But you don't know, sometimes the in process control measures also filed by some regulatory agencies for specific product. You don't know, you may not aware about also, or sometimes some commitments may be given by the regulatory affairs, so that also you may not aware. So that is the reason, safer practice, I always suggest that all the change controls should be rotated to the regulatory affairs. Prospective evaluation criteria for a proposed change should be set. So that is what I was telling you, that you need to have a clear cut criteria, that evaluation criteria of the change controls. Okay, and this is already we discussed about this requirement. After implementation, an evaluation of the change should be undertaken to confirm the change objectives were achieved and there was no deleterious impact on the product quality. So same thing we discussed when we were discussing about the requirement of different guidelines, but as it is a part of the ICH Q10, I shared this information to all of you. So again, I am telling, if you have any questions, please put your questions on in the chat box. I will reply to your questions. So a life cycle approach, change management life cycle approach. So you can see here, when we are discussing about a life cycle approach, you can go through the, again I am telling ICH Q10. So the change control, many companies think that change control is only applicable at commercial manufacturing level, but no, change control is applicable at the product development, means R&D. Then if you have a separate team of technology transfer, then it should be applicable for a technology transfer team also. And then commercial manufacturing, where you are manufacturing the product, there also change control should be followed. And then when you take a decision that this product is discontinued from the manufacturing operations, that also should be through change control. Many people, they take the decision that, okay, out of 20 products, we will stop manufacturing of this product. Whatever you take the decisions of stopping or holding the, you stop manufacturing of the product from your facility, that should be rotated to the change control. But many companies, I found that they lack in this. The point is, when you take a decision to discontinue the product from the change control, then it will be removed from your cleaning validation matrix. Second thing, you need to obsolete the batch record, specification, test procedures and all. Third thing, you need to surrender the manufacturing license of this product to the FDA, that we are not going to manufacture the product in future in this facility. So that suppose after 2-3 years or maybe 5 years, again the same product requirement, manufacturing requirement come into your facility, then at least it will be considered as a new product and it will be completely evaluated with respect to the process validation requirement, cleaning validation requirement and all the feasibility requirements and all. Otherwise what happened, the persons were not able to evaluate proper impact assessment, and which can lead to again the non-conformity. So that's the reason you need to implement the change control when you take the decision about the product discontinue. And of course at R&D level also you need to follow the change control, as well as technology transfer also level also you need to follow the change control. This is what the life cycle approach means, from development till the decision of a product discontinuation. That whole is called a life cycle. So you need to follow the life cycle approach for the change management or change controls. Hope you're getting my point, right? So now let us discuss about the categorization of the changes. So what are the types of changes? The very important, as we all are aware about the requirements of change controls, there are two temporary change controls and permanent change controls. So I always prefer to use these terminologies because there are even so many discussions happen. Even my previous training on deviation also, I discuss about this, that we should not use the terminology as a planned deviation, but we should refer as a temporary change, because temporarily we are changing the system, process or requirements. So that is what the thing. So categorization is very clear, temporary versus permanent. And the next is about the next categories, and the categories may be major, moderate and minor. Major, moderate and minor. So I always recommend that don't categorize the change control as critical, major, minor. Means what? Don't categorize the change control as a critical. This is again the the eye catching for many inspectors, because critical definition of a critical under the PICS observations, the whatever the observations, non-conformity observations and all, the critical definitions are something, they are very serious with respect to the patient health and all. So that type of and change control are the plan activities. So that is the reason inspectors or auditors are expecting that we should not, you know, uh, we should not have the change control as a critical nature. Hope you got my point. So you can categorize as a major and minor, or major, moderate and minor. So that way you can categorize the three categories or two categories of a change management, change controls. So now my point is, by following the heat matrix, how you can categorize this change control. Many companies, what they have the definition of a change controls, like major, minor, what is the major, what is the minor, with some examples they have. But I want to put something, I want to put some, the more quantitative way of categorization of the changes. So how? So you can use the heat matrix. So heat matrix is what, you need to ask about the change, whatever change is proposed. So what can go wrong? So suppose if I am implementing specific change, what can go wrong? That you need to ask the question. Then what is its impact or unintended consequences? So what are the consequences about this change? That you need to evaluate. Then you need to ask, what is the possibility of these consequences, or what is the likelihood of these consequences? How many times this type of problem happened in past? That you need to ask these questions. What are the alternative solutions to manage these problems, or to manage this risk? That you need to evaluate. So by considering these 4 questions, you will able to identify, so many risk with respect to the proposed change. So many risks with respect to the proposed change. Now what happened, when you identify this risk, then you will come to know, you need to give some, the severity, how much severe that risk is, or how much severe that unintended consequences. That severity you need to number. And then if you have some backup data, old data, then you can just evaluate that earlier how many times this problem happened. So it is called the occurrence. That you evaluate, and you can see in the left side, there is a square 1 to 5 from horizontal and 1 to 5 from the vertical. And you can see that there are some blocks, some are red, some are yellow, and some are green. So if the multiplication of severity and occurrence, you put that block, so you will come to know that some risk will be at a red color, or some risk will identified as a yellow color, or some risk will be at a green color. So the risk is, suppose at a red color, it indicates that it is a major type of change, and that way you can categorize the change control as a major. If it is a yellow, then you can categorize as a moderate, and if it is a green, you can categorize as a minor. So this way you can categorize the change control based on the heat matrix. So this is basically called a heat matrix, because the red color is symbolic to the very high heat, and the green is low heat, so low intensity. So that's the reason this is called the heat matrix. Hope you got my point. And that way you can categorize the change control by following the heat matrix. Okay, hope you are getting my point. Okay, further if you have any questions, no problem. You put your questions in the chat box. I will reply to you. I request all of you to please be with me, because there are some slides also, couple of slides, and after that I will respond to your all questions, and I will share the link in the chat box. One thing I want to tell you, that chat box will be inactive after our training. So whoever is live attending the live, they can immediately copy the link and they can put in their computer, so that they can download the training presentation immediately. Okay, this is the benefit of the live training. So now let us discuss about the artificial intelligence and how we can use the artificial intelligence in the change control. So I took this definition from the the literature survey from the literature survey. The definition of artificial intelligence is the ability of a computer or a robot controlled by a computer to do the tasks that they are usually done by humans, because they require human intelligence and discernment. This is a definition. Don't bother about the definitions. My question is now, many points here what we discuss are with respect to, let us say example of change control. What are the points we discussed? Discuss the point with respect to categorization, impact assessment, regulatory assessments, so, or overdue change control, not respecting the timelines and all. So what happened? This following the change control. The person who is following the change control, it varies from person to person basically. But suppose if you use your talent, how to categorize the change control, like change in the facility, what are the risks, accordingly what will be the things, change in the equipment, what will be the impacts, what will be the risk with respect to the change in the equipment, and what will be the category of the change. That if you put in the software, then impact assessment, if change in the facility, whether it requires the what type of approval by the regulatory agency, whether it is a pre-approval change or it will be the just notification. I'm just giving example. Or whether any change is related to the CB30 or CB45 or PAS, So that if you put in the system, this type of change and what is this type of the impact, change and its impact, or risk assessment, what are the risks and what is the actions for monitoring or checking the impact of the change in the process or testing, that you put in the software. Then what will happen? You need to just put the change in the equipment. Automatically the information from the different experts is put in the software. So automatically change in the equipment. So immediately it will have the question whether it is the same type of equipment, like to like, or that means what, it is the same operating principle, same capacity, same make, model. That way it will ask the question. So if you answer it yes, no, automatically it will give the decision that whether it is like to like or not. If it is not like to like, then what is its impact? Immediately automatically it will be evaluated by the software. That is the scope of the artificial intelligence in the change control. So what happened? Now the change control is varying from person to person. Some may be evaluating the change control more properly, more detailed. Some may not be evaluating in more detail. So that way it will have the regularized or harmonized in following the change control practice. That is the benefit of artificial intelligence. But the problem, the risk with respect to following this is what? It need to be updated continuously. The reason is the guideline expectation, the regulatory expectations are changing frequently and repeatedly. So it is not possible to immediately upgrade or implement in the software continuously. You need to make a program to address this all changes and all. So it is very, very tough, and that is the reason the change controls are not handled through the artificial intelligence requirements. But we don't know, maybe in future we may follow the change control through the software, so that you need to just put the change SOP number so and so, change to SOP number so and so, version number so and so, 1 2 3 4 5 changes, you just write it down. Automatically the risk assessment questions will be there. You need to answer the questions to the risk identified. You need to then impact assessment related questions will be asked. You need to answer the questions yes, no, or whatever, and accordingly the complete evaluation of the change controls will be automatically ready. So that is the future. We don't know whether it will be followed in change controls and all, but we feel that many points we are now seeing that yes, the computer systems or automations in pharma is moving like anything else. Very speedily the computer operators and all is coming. So maybe in the future also it will be there. We don't know. In future also the change controls may be handled through the computerized system. The next point is the scope of a change control in a cGXP computerized system. So what is the scope of a cGXP computerized system in a change control? So when we were discussing about the guideline requirement, you will remember that I was discussing about the changes with respect to the computer hardware and software is the expectation of the guideline. That is what expectation. But if you see here the FDA requirement 21 CFR 211.68, appropriate controls shall be exercised over computer or related systems to assure that changes in master production and control records or other records are instituted only by authorized personnel. So this is the requirement, and below you can see the source. I got this information from the blog of FDA group. There is a blog. They identified the observations of year 2018 to 2022 and categorize the observations of 2018 to 2022, and they come to know, the FDA come to know that total 236 number of citations are raised which are related to non-compliance to this requirement with respect to the cGXP computerized system. So this is what I want to share with you, that total 236 number of citations are raised by the FDA to different companies in this 218 to 222 year, because many companies are not putting in the change control SOP scope that it is applicable for computer software and hardware or computerized system software and hardware, as it is not specified in the change control SOP, the scope of the change control SOP. You need to update and you need to specify that the change control is applicable for equipment, facility, building, premises, documents. You are writing that all the things, process, method. Along with that, you need to specify that computerized system software and computer system hardware, it should be applicable for this. Hope you got my point. And whatever I took this, I took it from the source I have mentioned here. It is from the blog of the FDA group. That blog is already available. You can go through this blog for more details. There are all the observations are categorized and how many times they are there, that is specified there. Okay, so again I'm requesting all of you, so please be with me. I will take some more 10-15 minutes. 2-3 slides are there, and after that we will have the question answer session. Okay, so what is missing in the change control? So as I told that this is I prepared based on some observed data based on my audits to the different companies. So very important is the change control committee. It is observed that the change control is raised by some team. One person is responsible to take care of a change control, and the person is only moving here and there to take the signatures, to writing and all. So this is not the correct one. You need to have a change control committee so that the change control can be evaluated and taken care in a timely manner. Second is training. So when change control is implemented, change control is approved, then you need to evaluate whether the all the impacted changes are done or not, and whether the people are trained on the impacted changes. That is the one point. So whatever the impacted changes, that people need to be trained on impacted changes. And second point is the second point is with respect to the training on the change control procedure, as all the people are responsible for change control procedure. All the key people are responsible for the change control training. But when change control SOP is revised, we may miss some key persons from the training, so that you need to evaluate. Third is the risk assessment, that I told earlier that many risk management. So many companies I found that they lack the quality risk management during the change control. They just have the one paragraph risk assessment and they write that no risk related to the product quality from this change. They just write these 2-3 lines. It is not enough. That is what I just want to communicate to you. The next is poor communications. So when you raise a change control, it has to be communicated to the concerned people. So it has to be communicated, but due to the poor communication also the change controls could not implement properly. Cases for approval of change control but not implemented. Yeah, that is what one point I want to touch upon, that sometimes what happen, you need to submit the change. You need to submit the change to the regulatory agency, but regulatory agency will ask you that we need a approved copy of the document, like for example test specification or manufacturing process, BMR, approved document. Now the point is, when you approved any document, then you will have, you approved today, but without regulatory approval you cannot implement it. So you need to have the practice to handle this type of change controls where you approve but you will not implement it. So how you will deal with that, that also you need to work out in your change control. Because what happened, this is a practical problem. If you want to revise the specification, the regulatory agency will ask you or request you to have a revised copy of the specification. But when you revise the specification, then you will have a two copies of the specification. The previous also approved, the current also approved. But current you cannot implement it due to the waiting for approval from the regulatory agency. So at the same time, two different versions of the specifications will be in quality management system file, which is having a same product, same code, and two different versions. So that way, you need to handle this type of changes in your through the change control SOP. That is missing in most of the companies. Hope you got the point here clearly. Effectiveness and no adverse impact. So whether the changes are effective and there is no adverse impact, that you need to evaluate. And closure of change controls. Many companies, it is observed that the activities are completed, but still the change controls are not closed. That is what observed in many companies. So these are some common missing areas of a change control. There are so many areas about the missing, but these are some major points. So I just listed here. Okay. So last slides about the couple of slides about the observations by FDA. You can just go through that. Describe the steps that must be taken in your change management system before introduction of a new manufacturing equipment or a new product. Many companies, they have the separate SOP for introduction of a new product. But I suggest that instead of that SOP of a separate SOP for introduction of a new product, better you need to have a handle that introduction of a new product to the change control procedure. That can be a better way, so that you can evaluate in a properly. And this is what it is what I mentioned about this observation. You can go through in detail. The next observation with respect to the change control, that change control is observation is failure to evaluate. The observation is what there are some couple of minutes you need to some 10-15 seconds you need to wait, then only the slide will be visible. Failure to evaluate the potential effect that changes may have on the quality of your intermediates and API. So this is what the observation given, and below is some explanation about the change. Your firm failed to fully evaluate whether the increasing your acceptable limit in the API starting material would impact the quality of the API. Following the initial rejection of several lots of starting material for failing to meet specified limits, you perform a lab scale study to justify an increase in the acceptable limit, and so and so. So that is the reason they got the observation that failure to evaluate the potential effect that changes may have on the quality of your intermediates and API. So here the company changed the API source and they evaluate that there is a increase in the impurity limit. So that they evaluate the starting material, impurity from the starting material, and they evaluate, but they could not evaluate properly. They evaluate only on the basis of some lab scales and all. That they didn't evaluate it on the commercial level, and they got the warning letter. So this is some example about the improper handling of a change control, you can say, or lacking the things. That is what about our today's training session. The next, I just want to communicate you that as I was discussing about the quality risk management, I will be conducting, last week also I shared to all of you that this quality risk management will be the 3 hours training, and this training will include the learning, then I will give the training material, guideline, references, certification will be given, and whatever the fees is very small, just 2000 Indian rupees for this training session. And that fees also I am just collecting basically to help the poor farmers. I just want to help them by providing some their machines or equipment, so that they can so that can be rotated, the equipment can be rotated among group of the poor farmers, and they can use for their farming purpose, so that they will not require to take the loan and all for this. So that is what I just want to use this fees to donate the poor farmers. So that is the reason fees is very small, 2000 Indian rupees only, and this is all the you will get the benefit. Of course, learning benefit and all is there, and I'm just collecting the fund to help them for this. And I am just expecting only 20 people, not more than that, because in the live training session, if more 40-50 people are there, then the interactions will be less. So I am only focusing on maximum 20 students, 20 participants, and so that I will get at least 40,000, and I will able to support them by purchasing some small equipments to them, so that that can be rotated among the poor farmer. That is what I want to share you. If you are interested, you can contact me separately. The next is YouTube is having a membership program. I have categorized as a 3 memberships: GMP, cGMP, and advanced GMP. So all 3 will have the GMP updates or GMP news and all. 3 different levels have the 3 different level of discounts on the different training sessions, where I will be trainer. So that type of discounts will be there, and some free access to the paid seminars also will be there with this. And in case of advanced GMP, even you will have the free doubt clearing session. So if you are member of advanced GMP session, then some doubts if you have, that can be cleared. That is what I want to share about the membership program. And finally, thank you so much for your kind presence for this training session, kind attendance. And now let us go to your all questions, and let us discuss about the questions. Okay, so let me go through one by one questions. Mr. Chiranjeevi ji is asking the first question. I think this is the first question. Somebody asked about the PDF file. Okay, Mr. Sunil Thakur asked for the presentation and copy. I will share the link. Don't worry about that. Mr. Chiranjeevi is asking, change control is required for revision of job responsibilities. Yeah, yes, Mr. Chiranjeevi. The reason is, it is not only with respect to the job responsibilities, but it will, help to evaluate whether the all respective activities are completed or not. Sometimes what happens, the key members are changed, so the all the job responsibilities get changed, because there always the the hierarchies is there. That is the thing, one thing. And second thing, what happened, sometimes we revise the job description, but we may need to evaluate whether the person complying to the training requirements or not, and whether there is a conflict in the job responsibilities, job descriptions. Sometimes we revise the job descriptions, but some job descriptions will be, we assume that yes, it is considered, but due to revision in the job description, there may be possibility that some conflicts are created. So that need to be evaluated. So that is the reason it is good practice to raise the change control for the revision in the job responsibilities. The next question by the same person, Mr. Chiranjeev, is asking, how does organizational changes impact the system as it is administration activity? See, basically organization changes mean, what I'm asking about, the change in the key positions like production head, quality head. So it requires to have a so many, the impacts. It is having so many impacts. Suppose let us say example, if suppose you are having a business with the FDA, so you need to communicate about who is the most responsible person at site. Now suppose your quality head is the most responsible person at site, and now suppose that person left the organization and the new person joined as a quality head in your organization. So what happened, there may be possibility that you miss some checks, but if you follow the change control procedure, the impact assessment will be thorough. You may able to evaluate that how many job descriptions need to be revised due to change these, or how many, or then you need to you will come to know organogram need to be revised. You will come to that you need to communicate to some regulatory authorities that this is our most responsible person, because in future the person may be putting the signatures on some commitments and all on the behalf of the site. So that is the reason this organization changes need to be handled through the change control practices. Mr. Hope you got my point. Then Mr. Von Verlin is asking, should new product introduction and product discontinuation be included in the scope of change control? Yes, of course, obviously. And the same thing I was discussing before at the end of this training session. So the new product introduction should be considered as the part of as a scope of the change control, and of course discontinuation also. Discontinuation already I explained during our discussion. And introduction, of course, because it will impact on a lot of validation or availability of the resources. So many points you need to evaluate. Further, you need to provide the training about the manufacturing process and all. So that all need to be taken care through the change control procedure. Hope you got my point. Okay, if you clear, you can just put the confirmation so that I will come to know. Mr. Srinivasalu is asking, for any SOP revisions, change control effectiveness is required. Yes, yes. See, SOP is what? SOP is nothing but a procedure, you know. SOP is nothing but a procedure which is being followed in the pharma company, you know. So that effectiveness is of course required. Now if suppose the SOP is related to only, you know, the drafting or the structure of the SOP, then you can write that it is not required, not applicable. But if it is related to any SOP related to gowning practice, SOP related to cleaning, SOP related to cleaning and sanitization, whatever SOP related, you know, normal SOPs, all the SOPs, you need to have the effectiveness check. Hope you got the point, Mr. Srinivasulu. The next question is by Mr. Sarath Babu. If it's possible to share any risk assessment format for major changes like equipment change in different MOC, I will check it. If it is available, I will just check it. Okay. Chiranjeevi G is asking, please provide example for change control during development process. Yeah, there are so many, you know, the activities where during development the change controls are required. The very important is the when the decisions are taken in the R&D about the change in the you know, the primary packaging components. If suppose initially the packaging component may be suppose the bulk pack, and you want to convert into some blister also, you need to have some convert from PVC to suppose aluminum. So this type of you know, the changes need to be done at the R&D level, so that accordingly the it should be communicated to the next team who is taking care of the technology transfer and all. Hope you got the point, Mr. Chiranjeevilu. Then the next question is Soma Shekhara HM is asking, please explain with examples. Sorry, what example you need to know? Please confirm me. Question is not clear. Sorry, Mr. Soma Shekhara HM. Chiranjeevi is further asking, is the change control effectiveness check is same as kappa effectiveness? No. Change control effectiveness is something different, and kappa effectiveness is something different. Change control effectiveness where you are checking whether the change is implemented. That is the first thing. Implemented and followed. That is the first thing. And second is whether it is having an adverse impact on the product or procedure. That you need to evaluate. That is what the effectiveness check. What is the practical authenticity in formation of a change control committee? What is the practical, sorry, not clear actually what you mean to practical authenticity. Can you please repeat your question, Mr. Chiranjeevi? I will come to know. Okay, I am not getting the clarity. I am not getting the clear things about this. Okay, I think all the questions are cleared. So just 2 minutes. I will just share you the link, and then we can close the training session. You can download this from this link I am just sharing. Hope link is visible to all of you. Okay, you can download it. Yeah, Soma Shekharan is asking categories of major and minor. See, basically, you know, these categories, that is what I told you, that you may feel major, I will feel minor, or I will feel major, you may feel minor. That is the reason I showed that heat matrix. If you follow this, then there will not be any confusion, and everybody will follow the same, you know, everybody will follow the same protocol to categorize the critical and minor changes, major and minor changes. And I already told you that you should not categorize the change control as a critical. So hope everybody is clear with this, and thank you so much. Hope everyone is clear with this. Thank you so much, and ensure all time compliance. I think all questions are clear. Yeah, the purpose of the live training session is, you know, I can immediately read the questions and I can reply you. And if it is a recorded version, you may feel that okay, you will go through the training after 2 days or 3 days because it is getting recorded. But then in that problem will be there, you know, I may respond after a long time. So that's the reason. So thank you so much. And now I am closing the now meeting. Okay, I think one question is there. I would like to know about which corrective action plan or kappa for change control. uh, See, actually, Mr. Ehsan Habib, I think it is something, the different topic about the corrective action plan and kappa. I will take it separately, but this is not related to this actually. Or you want to see, you want to tell about the change control related to the kappa. I'm not getting it. Okay. uh, in change control SOP writes about formation of a change control committee, but practically they won't follow. Yes, Mr. Chiranjeevi, I understand your question. Now that in the change control SOP, we need to specify the formation of a change control committee, and when you have the job description, in that you identify that who is the person of that committee. Some production, there will be some couple of people from quality assurance, from quality control, from the different streams. You identify them as a part of the change control committee there itself. Hope you got my point. So now I need to close because already 1 hour and 26 minutes are over. Thank you so much all of you for attending the training session, and let us meet in the next training session on the next Saturday, similar way at similar time. Thank you so much, and ensure all time compliance. Thank you. And if you have not subscribed this YouTube channel, please subscribe this YouTube channel so that you will get the notification about the next training session. And second point is, please share the same link to your team members so that they will also learn from the same the prospects about the change control. This is something different, discussions, different thoughts from the change control. It is not a normal change control practice and behavior, but whatever practices I found, I shared to you from this training session. Thank you so much, and ensure all time compliance, please. Thank you so much. And now I am closing this training session. Thank you.